Thanks for listening.
Bloomfield Township Planning Commission. Welcome those of you, everybody here, anybody watching or on Zoom or on streaming. Just so you know, we are, the Planning Commission is a 7-member body. It's appointed, not elected. And we are a recommended body to the Board of Trustees. The Board of Trustees has the final say in any land use management or development matter, but we can recommend to them either one way or the other. This agenda, there is a site plan, a special land use request for the Bloomfield Christian School for a new sports court, batting cages on their premises at 3570 Telegraph Road. Any vote, affirmative vote, has to be 4 members. We have a full panel here tonight, so we need 4 out of the 7 to get an affirmative vote. We will have a presentation by Patty, I guess, will do it tonight.
Yes.
And then the applicant will also present, and then we'll have opportunity for people to make their voices heard after that. So let's see. So attendance, we have 7 members here. We have a quorum. We can take care of business. We all got the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any corrections or additions or anything? Any comments on that? I don't see any. So I'd like a vote. All those in favor of
A motion?
A motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
I moved. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sorry, thank you. Forgot about that. Okay, so the public, we're hearing, we have a site plan of Bloomfield Christian School. And so, Patty, are you going to give us a presentation?
Absolutely, be happy to. So this evening, you have a request before you for the school at 3570 Telegraph Road, Bloomfield School, to add some sporting facilities on their existing campus. Just to orient you, we're off of Telegraph Road. We are north of Long Lake. We're on the west side. You'll see that there's in the center of the location map, it identifies the Bloomfield Academy, and also immediately in front, which are probably more from Baptist Church. That property is zoned single family, R3 single family. Within the R3 district, it does acknowledge that there are those uses that are customarily found in residential neighborhoods like churches and schools. And so this is a use that is permitted as a special land use. So that's why we're reviewing it both under a special land use request. And then with the aerial, now this is 20 aerial, but it does acknowledge that there is the parking field to the north. There's a parking field along Telegraph Road. And in this instance, you're seeing that big green box. So this is actually before the actual soccer field was installed a couple years ago. And I provided in my report that there is a little history of some improvement that's been processed through the Planning Commission, the Township Board, as it relates to some conditions. And just recently, as I spoke of, in 2021, there was a request for a soccer field to be approved. And at that time, the Township Board did acknowledge that as part of that approval, that it would be for school programming only, for school days no earlier than 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. on the weekends, and games no longer than 8 p.m. The current request for the batting cage and the pickleball sports court does not intend to modify those land use conditions as previously approved. So here's some earlier photos. We're actually seeing snow. Hopefully that's nothing to come too early now. But looking at the field area, I think we're probably more familiar with that area behind the church and actually behind the parking field. But the overall site plan is now depicted where you can see the outline of the church that runs parallel to Telegraph Road, Telegraph being on the right side of the illustration, and then the area to the west, which is the school, and then now that the outlined area, that's the focus of our discussion this evening. So with this site plan, you're immediately south of the soccer field, a layout that proposes a 50-foot by 84-foot sports court And just to the west of that, you see those two horizontal boxes, rectangles. Those are 30 feet by 20 feet, and there's 2 cages, and those are batting cages, and with a fence cage height of 12 feet. So as we review a accessory use of this nature in our as part of a school property, we consider that accessory use. The fact that it's located to the of the property is in compliant with one of the standards of the zoning ordinance, and the fact that it's least 15 feet from any side lot line, that also complies with the dimensional variance. However, accessory structures do require approval of the Zoning Board of Appeals, so there is a variance necessary for them to seek out from the Zoning Board of Appeals with this request pending a recommendation from the Planning Commission. So when we look at a request such as this, we do look at the standards with a school. Two of the standards specifically relate to their location along a major thoroughfare. In this instance, Telegraph Road has a 150-foot right-of-way, and they need, the standard is to be at least on a right-of-way of 86 feet in width, continuing to comply with that. And the standard has to do with the fact that schools need on a lot that is at least a minimum of 10 acres. They, at the time that this was originally proposed in 2013, they did the Zoning Board of Appeals, and a variance was granted for the 2.6 acres they were deficient for that 10 acres. So that variance does stand with this request that's before. Taking a step back and talking about just the use itself and its integration in cooperation, if you will, with the school and church activities, there is an agreement that coordinates the activities with a shared parking plan between the church use and activities and the school activities. There's currently 203 spaces on the property. 191 spaces are required with 10 barrier-free spaces as part of the use that presently is acknowledged on the premises. There's no parking in to the proposed batting cage and the sports court. This is all on a former or a play area, which is the present location, south of the soccer field. There's a letter that's in your packet from the Bloomfield Hills Baptist Church dated August 23rd that does note their support for the sports court proposal to facilitate safe play for the students and adding quality of, and noting the quality of the structures. And we also had the request be reviewed by the landscape architect. And I'll just jump to that, and I'll go back to that other aerial. So the landscape plan was submitted. This shows that there are 6 Norway spruce trees and pine evergreens, a total of 6, to be installed along the westerly edge. I do note a typo. It is actually being installed at 12 feet in height at the time of planting, and that is to match the height of the batting cages at the time of planting. And they're also is an irrigation plan will be extended from the plantings that are adjacent to the soccer and to extend to that area to make sure that the evergreens are thriving. Now going back to this aerial, this was by the applicant. It shows where the batting cages are, as they are the most westerly. And in this depiction, it's identifying that there is 376 feet from the proposed batting cage to the nearest residence, that is to the north of the, within the Bloomfield Chase condominiums. And then to the west, you're seeing a distance up to 606 feet to those residents that actually front on Franklin Road, but they have very deep lots. And then to the south, the closest neighbor is 225 feet from the batting cage. So the applicant wanted to show the distances as it relates to any comments and discussion points that the board may raise. Clearly, these are sporting activities, so the discussion within the department has been related to The seasonal use of the batting cage in the sports court is planned for March through October. It's to be used to a typical school day or after school or weekends. It'll be used during the summer. All games and practices to start no earlier than 8 a.m. on school days and 9 a.m. on weekends and conclude no later than 8 p.m. The school represented that they will utilize low-impact sound pickleball and balls as part of this request, and there'll be no lectures this proposal, nor signage or lighting with this sports facility. Through the course of our review of the special land use, we had the various departments review the proposal. Engineering and Environmental Services Department did identify the need for adequate capacity in the storm drainage system for the proposal. Location of the sports appears to be over a private storm sewer, which will be the full responsibility of the school. And the tree protection and preservation permit required because there was the need to remove several trees as far as the placement of the sports court, and pursuant to our zoning ordinance, they are getting the required replanting with those 6 12-foot evergreen trees. The applicant did go before the Design Review Board on September 6th, and through the course of that discussion and concluding the discussion with the applicant, the board moved to the site plan and special land use subject to hours being consistent with the soccer field as previously identified, and to forward the planning to the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals for your consideration. We're asking the Planning Commission to take the comments and as provided by these departments in your consideration of forwarding on a recommendation onto the Township Board. I just ask that you highlight, should there be a foundation of compliance with the Township's departments and the landscape architect, seeking that permission request from the Zoning Board of Appeals, exclusive use of the batting cages and basketball, pickleball court for school programming only, and use of the sports facilities to be no earlier than 8 a.m. on school days, 9 a.m. on the weekends, and no later than 8 p.m. So I'm happy to answer your questions, but I know we have a applicant here as well.
Okay. Anybody in the commission have any questions? Okay, I do.
Okay.
You just said, in your closing statement, you said that it'll only be for use by school programming, the school.
Yes.
Okay. What would be to prevent anyone from just going in there anytime and playing, using the pickleball court, basketball court? Is it fenced in? Is it locked?
Based on what's been presented, no, it is not blocked off. It's not fenced in. That would be the responsibility of the property owner to monitor premises, or upon receiving a complaint, then the township would follow up on such, and if necessary, then take whatever action we need to from an ordinance enforcement with the property owner.
Okay. If it's not, is it appropriate for us here to recommend fenced in or not?
If that's a discussion that the board wants to take, you certainly can.
So we can talk about that.
There's definitely maybe some input that you'd want to receive from the applicant as it relates to the fencing that would add to further variances that would be necessary depending on the height of the fencing, and then the necessary screening for fencing, which is part of our consideration. But I would suggest that you have that discussion
Okay.
with the applicant to see what is the benefit or the necessity of the fencing.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, then, I guess, all right, why don't you present?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tony Antone, 6155 Indianwood Trail in Bloomfield Township. I have a son who graduated from Bloomfield Christian, who are currently at Bloomfield Christian right now. At our design review board meeting, it struck me that August 16th of this year was our 10-year anniversary in Bloomfield Township. So it's been a huge blessing for our school, and I think everybody has acted exactly the way we said we were on these premises. A couple of things. Patty mentioned the distance. I wanted to also let you know that when we first came to the to the property in 2013, there was already a ball field on it. It was probably about 150 feet to the north of where we're proposing the current batting cages. We took that down when we built the soccer field, and the sports court, the basketball aspect is really happening right now, but in our parking lot. And it's just presenting an unsafe environment for these little kids as they're around, cars that come in and out. So what we'd like to do is we'd really like to take that into the landscaped area and remove those portable basketballs that the kids use on, at recess, basically, and really just, clean it up. The notion of pickleball is kind of an interesting one because we didn't seek out this sports court for pickleball. It's the cookie cutter lines that the manufacturer puts on these things to make it sort of all-inclusive. So you can do basketball, you can do foursquare, you can do pickleball, those sorts of things. We don't currently play pickleball at school. We don't teach that in our athletics department. It would be one of those things where we'd bring out each time. If the athletic director was going to do that, they'd bring the net out and bring it in, because otherwise it could be stolen. So that's not something, frankly, that we're looking to do right now. Could they teach that? Yeah, it's a fast-growing sport, and we see that could be a possibility. But we don't see this. We've never had a situation where people would come in off the street to use our facilities. This is, you guys know Telegraph Road. If they're going to do that, they're going to go to the public school where there's a lot more to choose from than a couple of basketball hoops to shoot on. So for us, it really is not something that we would want to fence in. This is used, and we want to keep it open. We want to make sure that it's, something, it's by and large going to be used during recess. I am one of the baseball coaches for our school. We have a field in Clarkston that we use, and in the nice weather, we're using their batting cages and we're using their field. But when it's not open yet, or when we're in between, or it's being used because we share it with another school, that's when we'll be using the batting cages. And even that, we do now anyways. We hit into a net outside there on our soccer field. So the baseball hitting and the basketball is already being done. We're just really kind of cleaning it up, putting it in a more refined area. As you've seen over the years since we've been here in 2013, we've slowly improved the property, right? We're a small school. We're only 180 kids. And so we've done the addition to the academic wing. We've built the soccer field. We've really cleaned up the landscaping, if you've been there kind of in the before and after phase. And now we're taking the playground and starting to improve that to really sort of, get with the times. I think that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions. Also, I forgot to introduce Matt Beatty, who is our head of school. I apologize for that, but he's here also support. And so I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have, but we're excited to make this new addition.
Thank you, Tony. And your explanation as far as the prior use to me was very helpful.
Okay.
Can you talk a little more about the batting cage?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's going to be used primarily during recess or baseball practice, whatever it may be, so is this live pitching or is there a pitching machine in there?
We haven't gotten there yet. It's meant to be for the season, which is primarily March through June. that is our baseball season. We do have some summer programs with some kids who want to hit, and it's usually me throwing BP, batting practice. But might we get a pitching machine down the road? Yeah, we might. I've had those, and they're pretty quiet these days. They're not, it's not like a loud, mechanism, any louder than hitting into our nets as we're hitting off a tee into the nets. So yeah, that's primarily what the use of the batting cages will be.
And is the batting cage something that is it open as far as anybody could just walk in there, or is there a gate or a fence that closes, not a fence, but a gate?
Yeah, so there's
door
not,
that closes
there's
it
not
up?
meant to be, but, in order to, we're gonna have what's called the L screens, the things that, like I pitch it so that I don't get hit, those would be locked down. Those wouldn't be available for anyone. So for somebody to come off the street and use our batting cage would be dangerous. Like, I don't see it happening. Nobody stands in a cage and throws without an L screen. It's just too dangerous, especially, at the high school age.
And then it's going back to the pickleball.
Yeah.
So is that something that is only going to be used during school hours, during recess? Or is that something that could be used after school?
Like I said, it could be used after school. It's definitely not going to be used after 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we haven't put any thought into pickleball. As I said, it's just how the court is striped. Tim Barnes, who owns Sports Court and who we're doing this through, that's just how they're striped. So we don't have any pickleball programs or anything like that. It's not like we're going to have tournaments. This is strictly for Bloomfield Christian School.
Okay. And again, the fact that there's prior use with baseball, with basketball, it's a more, strategic way of doing it in a proper way with the batting cage and basketball court I get, and I think that's really a nice use of it, and I don't think it's a major stretch from what you're doing now.
Right.
It's just making it safer and a better use of the property. I do have a problem with the pickleball, though.
Okay.
Not necessarily during school hours, but as you know, it is something that gets loud. It's something that I think will be more impactful on the surrounding neighbors than basketball and batting practice. So I do have a concern about that one. The other two, I think they're great. I would object to the pickleball.
Would it help if we committed to taking down any net that's put up right with the fence?
That would help me.
Yeah, I mean, because that's really the intent. It's if we use it,
Yeah.
it's going to be the gym instructors and the athletics teaching the
Yeah.
game during recess and during gym class.
That was your
Yeah.
initial presentation, that it would be taken down by the end of school hours, school
Yeah.
day, so that it's not there after school, during the evening, it won't be there till 8 at night.
Right.
Because we've had a lot of complaints with pickleball, as other communities have.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that, I think, would be very helpful.
Yeah, I think we would
That's
commit
why I
to
brought
that.
up, that's why I asked you if it's open to the public, if it's
Yeah.
fenced, because if you leave the nets up, like tennis courts are in places, people can come and just use
Yeah.
it. But you said, you cleared it up for me as well, you said
Yeah.
they're temporary, they would come down.
Yeah.
So they're not there.
No, it's going to be 95% is going to be basketball and foursquare, for the little ones.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
So Tony, I just want to put words in your mouth. You're committing to the fact that if you play pickleball and you put these nets up, it will only be during school hours?
Yeah, wouldn't you say that's good, Matt?
Thank you. I just wanted to add, in all the conversations we've had internally, at this point, pickleball has never come up. So this has been entirely basketball. And if pickleball were going to come up, I can't imagine it would do anything other than during a PE class, which would be during school hours. So we have no pickleball desires or
No.
shaming or anything like that.
Yeah.
So basketball has really been a hot spot because, as you can imagine, we have several teams. And so if it's weather permitting, it'd be nice to be able to send some of our children, or boys team or girls team, out of our gym, outside. That's really what we envision.
Yeah, so we can commit to that.
What are those hours?
Our school hours? 7:45 to 2:50, right, ballpark?
15 or?
5:00. So we would say 3 PM, we would take them down by, if there's even a net up, which we don't even see putting a net up. Yes, sir.
You were a little vague about that the batting cages be closed in, or how they would be structured, but when I do my bike ride, I go past the Royal Oak High School, they have batting cages right on Normandy Road, and they have to be closed in completely because they're throwing batting practice, balls go in every
Oh,
direction.
sure, no, the cages are closed in.
Plays cages would be
They're-
closed, so they can't be open to people just going in there and using them.
Well,
Lock them.
It's a net, so it's tough to lock a net. Anyone can sort of,
Do it there.
yeah?
They do it.
We don't
Whenever I've
have-
seen them, they are locked.
Yeah,
Because it's dangerous.
It is. I mean, they're fully enclosed by netting, but I just have a hard time believing anyone would just go in without an L screen and use
Yeah, well,
that.
people do a lot of
But
things.
I guess so, yeah.
Anybody?
Yeah, where is the residential neighborhood relative to your schematic here?
So, a
There are
couple,
these two houses that I can see,
Yeah, so-
225 and 676 feet away or something.
are you talking about, so there's these 3 houses up on Franklin Road here, and they're a good few hundred feet away. As Patty mentioned, the houses are up on Franklin, but they are about 4.5 acres each perpendicular to Franklin Road. So it is a heavily wooded area. I mean, putting the 6 trees here, no chance they make any difference. We're happy to do it because we abide by the code, but this is all wooded area right here to these homes, heavily wooded. And then a couple of letters of concern that we got from the condo association here to the north. Again, this is 376 feet to the closest home there. And we added very, very large Norway spruce trees when we did the soccer
Feet
field.
high? That's what I'm seeing here.
I believe they're more than 12 feet.
Oh, at that, in 2001?
The original one.
Yeah.
It's higher than.
They're about 20-foot Norway spruce trees and lined. So it is a heavy, heavy, heavy buffer that goes right here. Now, one of the members of the Bloomfield Chase Condominium Association told me that they are having an issue with some of their own pine trees. They're diseased, and they're going to put a program together and asked us to work with them, which of course we will, because they're going to be taking down and putting up new ones. They haven't, I don't think they've come before you yet, but that's the plan. And of course, we'll work with them on it. But it's nice. We get a number of folks from in here who actually come and set up lawn chairs and watch our soccer games. I've approached them before and I said, do you have a child here? And no, from over there we want to watch. So it's nice. And I think, of course, there's some concern of noise and that sort of thing. But honestly, there's not going to be any more noise than what is currently there. Like I said, we already play basketball. We already hit baseballs into nets. Those are things that are just going to get cleaned up.
All right. So there are plantings going behind the batting cages, is that what I understand?
Yes, sir. Here. And they'll be going in at 12 feet, which is the height of the batting.
Okay, so then it becomes a possible concern, like it's already been mentioned, about whether these are open to the public potentially, or locked at closing, or whatever. I'll leave it up to your facility to determine whether or not is a precaution or not a precaution, but
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at this is if people come in off the street, that's a trespass. You know, I mean, that's what that is. I can't stop somebody from coming in the middle of the night, but we'll do every precaution we can to make it hard for them to use our facilities. And we're putting in cameras out there, so we'll be able to see that sort of thing. We're doing those things now, mostly to safeguard the kids, but they'll be double use, frankly. Yes, sir.
Have you had any complaints about people doing that in your facility at this time?
Never. Mm-mm. You know, we're tucked back from Telegraph. People don't see it from Telegraph. So it's hidden by the building.
Just wanted to make a point of that.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else?
That one, mine.
Thank you for agreeing to take the nets in at 3 o'clock, but would you mind just saying that there won't be any, because let's say, just for an example, the student goes to the director and says, hey, can you help me out here? The net's already gone, and they go out and they start banging the ball around just to get a little
Yes.
practice.
Yes, we'll say that.
Just so nobody can say, well, yeah, you took the net down, but
Yeah.
they're still
No,
playing.
good point. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, we would
you.
say no pickleball after 3 PM.
Okay, then, anybody from the, or anybody like to make a statement, please come up to the podium, give your name and address, know who you are, and,
I remember who I am.
no, not so you know who you are, so we know who you are.
I'm Loretta Cooper. I'm a member of the condo association, and our concern basically are the pickleball courts, the noise from the pickleball courts. As you know, many areas already have pickleball courts, and they have been a nuisance, not only the noise from the game itself, but from the participants and the enthusiasm that goes right along with it. My concern was the noise from the pickleball courts, who was going to police those courts. I knew it was not going to be fenced in, therefore, as much as you say it's a private concern, once the community knows there's pickleball courts in the area, they are going to be used. So if you're telling us there will be no net there, and it's not a concern, then I have no concern. But my concern was greatly the noise from the pickleball courts, and after-school usage, weekend usage. During the summer, it's light until 10 o'clock. There was no way that we wanted to be having groups out there playing pickleball till 10 o'clock at night. So if you're assuring us that those nets are down, I have no concern at that point. So, and to the board, you've really answered asked questions that I had prior to coming here. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody?
Hi, I'm Hattie Blatt. I also live in Bloomfield Chase, along with Lori. I'm glad also to hear that the pickleball is going to be non-existent after 3, because we belong to a country club and have often said, as I said in my letter to the commission, we would hate to live anywhere near a pickleball court, because the sound, no matter what ball, what racket, the sound is a distinct and never seems to stop. And I Googled, and there have been lots of lawsuits and people actually moving from their homes across the country when there is a pickleball court in the vicinities. Thank you for that. We have kids who have played baseball, and my question is, why do you need batting cages when you don't have a field?
Sorry, can you
Just us.
just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Why does the school need batting cages when there's no field? And he says there's a field in Clarkston. Great, then use those batting cages. But for the same reason, I think batting cages are noisy. My son-in-law coaches baseball with Bloomfield Baseball League, runs camps starting tomorrow, 60 kids. He said they can be dangerous if they're not monitored and then supervised. And so why are there batting cages? Unless they anticipate coming back to you and us another time for a baseball field. I think 8 o'clock, assuming that all the activities are going to be done, but we hear children on the soccer field, even though you're right, gorgeous trees, and we thank you for that. And I don't know that trees really block sound, especially crisp fall when sound does carry more. So on a lovely Sunday evening, who's going to monitor that sound? So as much as we would love to be wonderful neighbors, I do oppose, and my husband and I do oppose. And also, it was interesting that Patty referred to this as a sports facility. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, yes, thank you for the opportunity.
And by the way, we will answer your question, any questions that come up. After we're all done, we'll have those answered.
Hello, good evening, everybody, members of the Planning Commission Board, Mr. Chairman. I'm Stephen G. Christie, and my family and I have owned the residence directly south of the Bloomfield Baptist Church and now the Bloomfield Christian School since 1960. And during that period of time, I mean, they've been wonderful neighbors. We were blessed to have them next to our home. And as far as, I couldn't tell you when the soccer field was put in because I don't hear the soccer field. Of course, I see that to the north, they're in a closer proximity. But in the 1960s, we could hear the beautiful singing of hymns by the parishioners. By the time the 1980s rolled around, Telegraph Road became so we could no longer even hear the church. I was on the premises when there was a large soccer game going on, and I couldn't hear it. So I'm here on behalf of the neighborhood from my home and our residents, in support, complete support of the Bloomfield Christian School's endeavors to improve their property by improving their sports facility. I'm familiar with the basketball net being in the parking lot, and that was put in when I was a child, and there was always cars coming by. So it's a safer plan with what they have proposed. And just in conclusion, I might add that I wouldn't be able to hear anything from 3670 Telegraph Road. It is. Oh, I forgot to say that's where the address our property's at, because of the noise from Telegraph. And so I fully support their endeavors and am more than willing to add any more information if required. So I thank all of you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, there's nobody else here, so that takes care of the hearing. But there was only one question, and maybe you can address that. And the question was, why do you need to have batting cages on the property there?
So the proud coach of the baseball team who has won 2 state championships in a row, we start practicing in about the middle of March. And depending on whether the fields are not available to us, they don't open the field in Clarkston to us until the games start going. So we've got a good month of practice before, and we share the field with another team. So the team has the field rented. We're going to go there. So really, it's going to be fairly, but it's going to be a real benefit to our team to be able to practice in our own facility. And again, we do it now. We just do it off tees into nets, and go chase the balls into the woods when they fly a field. But the reality is, it's just to keep the balls enclosed and allow us to be able to. And it's not just hitting, by the way. The cages are meant also for us to be able to bring in our portable mound, and we have pitching practice in there as well. which is a really nice feature for us to be able to throw in two cages side by side, and having our pitching instructor teach the young men, you know, how to pitch better in that environment. So that's why the need. We were just as anyone would use, you know, cages for baseball, we would use them on our site until the weather turns and we are at our own field. But no, we don't have room to put a baseball field on, so that's not even in the realm of possibility. We have no room for a baseball field.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the answer.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring it back to the commission, close the public hearing. Any comments? Questions?
I'm ready to make a motion unless there's anything.
I just want, we gotta,
Nope, I don't have a question.
just want to make one comment before you do that, if I can. Of course. The two concerns, really, that were brought up, I brought one up, but the folks here brought it up, was the pickleball is the one. Now, we've got assurances that there won't be any pickleball after 3 o'clock, 2:50, whatever, you know, when you close, that the nets will come down. That means nobody's going to come onto the property and decide to play pickleball, like tennis courts that are open, you know, to the public. So I think those fears have been allayed. Also, I look at the closest residence from the condominium association is over a football field away, 376 feet, if I'm reading that correctly. You know, that's more than a football field. That's pretty far away. And since there won't be any, the only thing would be basketball, if someone could come in and play. You know, I mean, it's only that's just one court. That's what it looks like to me on there. It really, you answered my problem with people coming in to play, you know, at any day, you know, any time. I think you've handled that. So, all right.
Actually, I'm sorry, I just
ahead.
have one question, because I just want to understand for myself. The 3 o'clock hour for no pickleball, how is that affected on the weekends? Is it not at all, or
Nets.
also
No
after
nets.
3?
There's no nets.
They're going to take him back in.
So once they come down on Friday at 3, they don't go up till Monday? Okay.
Well, you should have them answer that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he said.
That's what he said originally.
said?
Yeah, but we can put it in the motion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's part of the motion.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
Unless
before,
anybody else has any comments?
no.
No, okay.
No, you can't, no, we're
The
finished.
Hearing's closed.
Before I make the motion, I just want to say we've had a tremendous amount of experience with the applicant over the years. He is a person of his word, and I have to say that I've listened to all of their applications on the Planning Commission and on the board over the years. And whatever needs to be done, Tony is always somebody who will back up what he says. If there's problems along the way, he's the first person to try and remedy them. And so in this type of situation, he and the school are the right people, because I totally trust what they're going to do and their word. Said, I also appreciate the fact that they're so easy to work with and accommodating as far as with the pickleball court issue. That was the only issue I strongly was opposed to, but with your assurances that it will be down by 3 o'clock, the end of school, I'm fine with that. Also with your explanation of the basketball, how it's used now, and also for batting cage, or how you're handling baseball now and how you plan on moving that into these the basketball court and the batting cage. I think it's great, so I have no problems with it. So with that said, I would like to make a motion, and we do both, Patty, the site plan and special land use
Yes, you
together.
can.
That we move these on with a positive recommendation to the Township Board, subject to the following: compliance with the requirements noted by the Township departments, compliance with the requirements noted by the Township's landscape architect, seeking permission for requests from the Zoning Board of Appeals for the accessory structures, exclusive use of the batting cage and basketball and pickleball court for school programming only, and with pickleball net must be taken down by 3 o'clock. Monday through Friday, and may not be there in the evenings or on the weekends. Use of the school's facilities to be no earlier than 8 a.m. on school days, 9 a.m. on the weekends, and no later than 8 p.m.
I would second all that.
It's been moved and seconded.
Sure.
Any on the motion?
John raised his hand first.
Just second.
He was going to second it, and you already did.
I will
so.
support.
No discussion, then let me call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Good
I
luck.
have a public comment too. My observation with being on the board, you've been a great resource for the township. I used to vote there, and I think you had blood drives and other types of open door activities supporting the township, so thank you.
Thank you. We love
Continue on.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Andrew.
Now what did I do? My agenda, I just lost it. Here it is. All right, anybody have any items that are not on the agenda? Bring up. Don't see any? All right, the next planning commission meeting is Monday, October 2nd.
Oh, wait, you expect one.
October 2nd.
At this time, I don't believe so, but you'll be the first to know.
All right, then
Sometimes.
let's have a
How's
motion to
Rich,
adjourn.
okay?
Motion and seconded. We are adjourned.
All right.